All right, good morning. How's everyone doing today? Ready for Camp Canvas? Day 2. Today we are going to give you a lot of good information. There's a poll on the screen, so as you come in, please take that poll just to give me a little idea of who's here today. All right, so kind of give you an overview of what we're doing. First thing, we're going to make sure your sandbox is in your school's subdomain, and I'm going to show you where you'll look to see if that is the case. If your sandbox is not in your school's domain, you're going to need to contact your ITC and ask them to put your sandbox in your school's domain. This is going to be really important because if your school has any school purchase programs like Nearpod or Edpuzzle, you want it to be in the school's domain so that you can get all those settings that your ITC puts in. Next thing, what we're going to do today. First, we're going to talk about files, how you can upload files to Canvas, how you can connect your Office 365 and your Google Drives to Canvas as well. Then we're going to talk about accessibility and making content in the rich content editor and how you can make that the most accessible it can be for students. Then we're going to talk about announcements and making sure and adding announcements to the top of your homepage screen so that they appear when the student pops into the classroom, they can see those announcements right away. Then we're going to look and talk about modules and how to create modules, how to make prerequisites and requirements that help a student self-pace through the module. And yeah, that will be good. Let's see, and that's it. So those are what we're going to talk about today. Just a few housekeeping things. Hopefully you are already inside of our Canvas class and you've been looking around at some of those optional assignments, those optional homework assignments. We're really sorry for those of you that are coming in new to Prince William County that you can't actually be in the course and participate, but the county just doesn't make your official logins until your contract start date. That's just the way it's always been. And we've kind of asked them to, if we give you more flexibility and make that available earlier, but they're just not able to do that. So you have view access in that link that we shared with you, but unfortunately you can't take part in all the interactive parts, but we wish you could. We just wanted you to know that. We saw a lot of comments about that on the forum yesterday. And so here in the Canvas class, anything with a green check mark is an optional homework assignment. So we hope you've been taking advantage of some of those opportunities to extend your learning after we meet. And just, I'm going to share the poll results. So when you're doing your Zoom meetings with your students, this polling feature can be really great to share and get like an entry ticket or exit ticket at the beginning or the end of your Zoom meeting to understand or get a little gauge the temperature of your room. So I just wanted to know if you were Google schools, because I'm going to be showing how to set up a Google Drive. You know, if you're not a Google school, we kind of think that you should definitely reach out to your ITC and ask if you could be, at least for teachers. I don't think students need to be Google people, but if you're going to attach a Google Drive, it should not be your personal one. You never want to attach a personal Google account to anything that's connecting to students. Number 2, yes, at the end of the class, in the chat, there will be the form, so do not miss it today. And lastly, I think the most important thing to focus on, you can see that most of us, like about half, think content is the most important, then accessibility, and then engaging appearance. We obviously want all 3 of those things, but we do have to realize that content and accessibility are going to become before that engaging experience. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit when I go over the rich content editor. So, let's see. All right. Stop sharing my screen. Okay. So let's get to it. The first thing that I want to talk about is files. So you're going to access your files. When you go to your account, you can click on Files. And you can upload files to this files area. You cannot sync like your OneDrive or your Google Drive and everything flow into here. You literally have to upload it. So that's a thing. And you'll also notice that anytime you create a class, it will create a folder. So these are all of my classes. There's a folder for all of them. And inside every class's folder, you'll see that it will create, yeah, so you'll see that it will create a subfolder that's like uploaded media. So anytime you add an image or a video into your class, it will go into that uploaded media folder. But the folders are, I personally wouldn't upload a bunch of stuff here, but I would just, as I create and add to my courses, those are where all your files end up. It's also going to be really important in the course navigation, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, to hide files from the course navigation. If you don't hide the files, your students can go and look at all the file folders and include for each of your classes, and any document or any image or any video that you upload gets put into the folders. And you'll see that there's a folder made for each module also that you create. So that's files. Do I have any questions about that, Dan? I forgot to answer intro Dan. Dan Nemero, Patriot High School. He's the host and moderator today. And I'm Katie. I'm from Woodbridge High School, and I'm your presenter.
Good morning, everybody. No, Katie, the only real question we've had just now is about hiding the files if people want you to show exactly how to do that. And then just a question about making sure that their sandbox is in their school's subdomain. But other than that,
awesome.
Moving right along.
Perfect. So perfect. That's the next thing we're going to do is move into a course and look at course settings. So I'm going to go into our Camp Canvas class. My internet's moving a little slow today. All right. So in your classroom, at the bottom of the screen are the course navigation. So we have our course navigation right here. So this is the global navigation. This is the course navigation. The bottom of the list is settings, and that's where we're going to spend the next little piece of time today. So in my course settings, this is where I can see that my course is in my school subdomain. This is where I can change the navigation in the course navigation, and I can also add a redirect link to a commonly used website. So if your students always go to a textbook website, you can add a link to that over here in your side navigation. All right, moving a little slow. Okay. So in your course settings, the way that you add an image to your dashboard picture. So on our dashboard, we have that nice image of little fire. So this is where you can add that image for your course. So if you want to make those in Canva, you can make those, but you can also just click on this image and you can choose an image from a lot of images that they have in Unsplashed. So we looked just for like a campfire image and we added that. So here's the image we picked, and we just selected that and made that our course image. Okay, so that's one thing. Your classes will already have names when they're named from the hub. It will already have a course code. Don't worry about this blueprint. You won't be making a blueprint, but what you need to worry about is where it says sub-account, okay? So you wanna make sure that it says your school's name and not manually created. So if yours says manually created, that's when you want to contact your ITC and say, hey, can you add my sandbox, and make sure to give them the course name so it's easy for them to find. Can you add my sandbox named this to our school subdomain? Any questions about that, Dan?
No, so far the questions mostly are awesome because everyone is eager to learn, but they are things that we are going to go over later. So I refuse to give spoilers. You know, how else will we keep everyone around for the whole hour?
Perfect. All right. Moving down further into our course settings, you can determine a start date and end date for your course. Now, you're not going to do that for hub created courses, but if you were like a coach or a sponsor of a club, that might be something you want to utilize. You can also change the language. Now, this is really only recommended for foreign language courses. This is not recommended for like ESOL or anything like this. This means that if you type in a language in the box, it's going to use that language and override the course. Also, it will put all the course navigation into that language. So if you're teaching French, you want to probably turn this to French so that the students are experiencing your course in that language. These things will be set up for you, the license and the visibility. We have this course public so that, you know, those non-PWCS people can view the course, but your course is mostly just going to probably be in course visibility. So only those students in the course can see it. If you had like a CLT course, maybe like a whole district course, you could put it to institution. I want to click where it says more options. And I want to highlight the very first thing. It says, let students self-enroll by sharing a secret URL with them. So if you're a coach or a sponsor of a club, that's what you're going to want to click to give students that code. Your hub created classes, all your students will be loaded in for you. So you don't have to add students to your hub created classes. But if you're creating a course that's not in the hub, not in the student information system, you're going to want to make that code to make it easy for you to add people. Another thing is you're going to want to click show recent announcements, and this will put the most recent announcements on the very front home page of your course. That means when students go into your course, they're going to see those announcements at the top of the screen. We have this set up in our course, so you see the first 5 announcements, or the most recent 5 announcements. You can see you can do up to 15 announcements. So you can make it so those announcements show on the very front page of your course, which is really helpful, I think, directing students to the most recent things that you've shared. There's some other settings that you can look at, but those are the most important settings. And once you change anything on this page, you want to make sure to click Update Course Details. So that's the first page of course details. The second page of the course settings is sections. And this is where you'll be able to do cross-listing. And we're not going to give you too many details about that because we're still waiting to know exactly how cross-listing will interact when the hub and Canvas are connected. So cross-listing may or may not be something you want to do. What is cross-listing? Cross-listing is connecting all of your World History 1 classes together so that anything you put in one class populates to all 3 classes of students. Instead of copying material over, you can basically kind of make them one class that interacts together but can still be separate in ways. So like you could have separate discussion boards but have all the assignments together and unified. So cross-listing is definitely something you'll want to wait and listen to hear more from your ITC in August and September. The next thing is the navigation. So this is how you can determine what is visible and what's hidden from students in the side navigation here. So you can see here, if there's a little eyeball, that means that it's not visible to students. Okay, anything else is. To make something visible, I just have to drag it up to the top part. And then after I click Save Settings, it's going to be visible. But there are some things that you definitely want to hide. Like I mentioned, you want files to be down here. You also want pages to be down here. Because if you're setting up modules that have prerequisites and requirements, that means you're asking students to go through that module in an order. If you have pages visible, they're going to be able to get to pages that are in those modules without going through the module itself. So you want pages hidden, you want files hidden, you want quizzes hidden, and you want discussions hidden. You want students to access all of that stuff through modules. We really want to kind of simplify and keep this navigation as few as possible links for students to have to deal with. So I would say definitely hide files, pages, discussions, assignments, and quizzes. We want to keep modules and have students access everything they're supposed to do through modules. All right. The next thing in course settings is apps. So there are some apps that you can add. So as a teacher, you may want to add Flipgrid. I'll search for that. Flipgrid. All right, and you can then install it, and there's directions that we've provided and are in the classroom for how to add the Flipgrid app to your course. You'll need to get some secret codes and secrets and put them in, and we have the directions all for you. But if there's an app that you want to add to Canvas, this is this place you would do it. Another kind of app that we're going to show you right now is the redirect tool. So redirect, if you have a website or a textbook, maybe it's like, you know, Wixie or something, a tool that can't be integrated, you can add a link to that in the course navigation. So we'll click redirect tool. We're going to say add app. I'm going to add a link to this Wakelet. So copying that link. So I'm going to say this is course Wakelet. Put the URL right here. I want to force it to open in a new tab, and I want to show it in course navigation, and I'll say add app. Then I'm going to go to my navigation. I'm going to see if it's here. Let's see. Let me refresh the page. Here we go. My course Wakelet is now there at the bottom. So if I want to move it up, I go to navigation and I can move it up in the order. So it's near the top for my students. There we go. And then after I rearrange my order, I want to say save. So now that Wakelet, if you guys are in your version of the Canvas classroom, if you'll refresh your page, you'll see that link for the course Wakelet at the top of your navigation. So why don't I give you a minute and you can go over there and refresh and see if you see it. Dan, do we have any questions?
Yeah, just some questions about the redirect tool, some questions about themes and how to get our pages into our school subdomain. I'm going to address a couple of them real quick. The reason that you guys would do that is, one, if there's any apps that your school has that are school-wide, when your ITC installs that app at the school level, you would then get access to it just because you're in the correct subdomain. A lot of us have also created pretty colors and logos and fonts and images and things like that to make our pages more unique. We also had some questions about the redirect tool, but I think you just addressed that. The question about when to use, how do you get to the redirect tool? It's just an app. You go to the app guys and you just search for redirect. You would use that, like Katie said, for example, if there's a textbook or your class goes to this one particular website all the time, you would be able to add it as a redirect tool. So it's just a link on the left side as opposed to inserting it as an app. I know some of this is happening fast. There's some of that in the chat. The chat is also happening fast. My typing skills are getting tested today, but that's why we're recording everything. So the URL redirect is the tool that you would use for adding links over on the left side. I'll go back to the chat now.
All right, great. So we can go over some of that more in the Q&A at the end. And remember, these sessions are being recorded and we post them to YouTube. So if there's something you feel like you missed and it's going a little fast, you can definitely rewatch later. Remember, this week is just a big overview showing you all the options, and then, after this week, you can kind of start to dive in to the more nitty gritty. All right, so in the classroom, we have this day 2 module. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is the rich content editor. So I've provided you all of these accessibility tips, and then I have a little quiz for you. I'm going to show you some of the stuff right now that I'm talking about. So I'm going to click in this module, and I'm going to make a new page. You'll see the rich content editor box. The rich content editor box is the place basically that you add text. So you'll see that in assignments, quizzes, discussions, pages. So anywhere that you're typing text, that box is called the rich content editor. And I'm going to show you some things to keep in mind for accessibility, and then also some features of the rich content editor. Once it loads. All right. So this box here, this one right here, this is the rich content editor, okay? So you'll see I can change my font size. And I can also do headings. So you'll be like, oh, here's heading 2, 3, 4. You're probably wondering, where is heading 1? Heading 1 is the title of your page, okay? So headings are what someone using a screen reader for visual impairment uses to navigate your web page. So if you're gonna have some content, let's say my page is about climate change. I'm gonna have causes of climate change, effects of climate change, and then under each of these sections, I'm gonna have all of my content. Like I'm gonna have words, I'm gonna have videos, but I want these to be bigger, right? Because I want my students to see, oh, this is like a different section of content. I'm not gonna make it bigger with font. I'm gonna make it bigger with headings, okay? To do that, so the person who's using a screen reader, okay, for their screen reader will read to them climate change. Heading 2, causes of climate change. Heading 3, effects of climate change. That way they can navigate on the page to where they wanna go quickly. They don't have vision, so they can't see the headings themselves. So using the headings feature allows the screen reader to read to them so they can navigate the page quickly, just like we would do with vision, scanning the page for the information we want to go to quickly. You don't want them to have to read everything to get the information they want. Does that make sense? Yeah, all right, so headings, use those over fonts, okay? You'll also see that you can make fonts bold, you can make fonts italics, underline, you can change their color, you can highlight. Using highlight or text color, you want to be really cognizant of making sure it's a dark enough color. So don't use yellow or as a text color. That's going to be hard for someone with low vision to see. Also, if you're highlighting things and you're saying, do the things in red, remember that there's some students that are colorblind. So using colors as directional information is also not accessible. So you want to make sure that, you know, you could say, you do the underlined things, or do the things with and put a star emoji in front of it. Do something that's not color related in your directions. You see you can also have superscripts. So you can, I just put the word climate in a superscript. So if you are doing, you know, science stuff, that might be helpful. You can, just like a word processor, left, center, or right just. Bulleting, indentation, paragraph styles. All the things that you would see in a word processor are here in the rich content editor. The right side of the rich content editor is where the more advanced things are. So if I want to link something, I could highlight this and do an external link. You never want your link to just be pasted on the page itself. You want the link to be embedded in words. You can also link to something else in your course. So if I want to insert a link to another module, I can go to link and I can do course links, and everything in my course will come up. So maybe I'm putting some information and I'm going to say, after this, I want you to do this assignment. I can link to that assignment directly on the page. So your links can be external, like something outside of Canvas, or within Canvas itself. All right, I can also upload images. I can also just find images. So if they're already in my course and I've already uploaded them, I can find them and put them in. When I put an image in, let's see. Things are going slow. Let me just try and refresh. When I put an image in, I want to put alt text to that image. Alt text is really important, again, for those using screen readers, so that they can navigate the page and understand the context and the function of that image. Let me upload an image. Let's see if I can do that. Here we go. I can also just find images from Unsplash. So do campfire again. So if you don't have an image on your computer and you just want to search for one, you can find some here. All right, so I'm gonna put this image in. When you put an image on your page, you want to click on that image and you'll see that image options appears. You want to click on that, and this is where you want to put alt text. So you can see if it comes from Unsplash, it already comes with alt text. Again, that alt text is what the screen reader is going to read to the person using a screen reader. If it's something completely decorative, it has actual no function on the page, you can just click decorative image, and that will help the screen reader because it will just skip the image. You'll also see that you can alter the size of the image here, and then I'll click done. So now my image is smaller on the page and it has the correct alt text. On that accessibility wakelet that's in the classroom, there's lots of, there's a link to a page about how to write alt text. Alt text is tricky, especially for things in science and math. You really need to fully describe those graphs or the diagrams and things. So there's some helpful tips on that page to help you do that. All right, you can also upload a video or find video that's in your, or audio recording. So maybe while the student will have immersive reader, which is a reading enhancement tool on the page, it could be helpful for you to read the page as audio and record it and put it at the top. It really personalizes it for the students, especially if you're working with those lower grades, that K through 5, they want to hear your voice, the teacher. They don't want to hear the computer's voice. So uploading and adding audio, and you can see I can just do that right here. So I can record, and I can choose to either do my camera or just audio, so I can turn the webcam on, or I can just do the mic, and I can start recording, and it will record. All right, here's a piece of audio I'm going to embed on my page. All right, I'm going to save it. And now that piece of audio is on my page pretty quickly. So if I wanted to, again, describe anything on my page for my students, that would be really nice accessibility feature for them. And also just personalization and remote learning. Having them hear the teacher's voice is good. All right, I can also upload a document. So that's pretty straightforward. Or if it's in your files, you can go to course documents. I can also add, and this is to erase formatting. I can add tables. Now, tables are tricky, okay? Tables should not be used for formatting. So I know a lot of you are wanting to use those tables to add your buttons to your front page to make it all like nice and cute and organized, but tables are not for formatting. It's an accessibility issue. Tables should only be used for data. I know. So let me show you. I'm gonna put this table in. I'm gonna put this by this table. If you're putting a table of data, you also have to make sure to do the table properties. So you'll see table properties here. You have to, advanced. You have to, and there's more details, and I can't show you all of it, but you basically have to designate these rows header rows and put header text in them so that the data below will be associated with a heading text. So if you have years, numbers of people, that the person with the screen reader, again, understands that these numbers below are associated with years, these are associated with number of people, these are associated with growth rate. So again, tables are only for data, and you really have to do them right. So only use a table when it's like completely necessary. The next thing on there is math text. So if you're a math teacher or chemistry teacher, you do have Latex Math that you can insert onto the page. And when it inserts, it will make that alternate text of that equation for the person with the screen reader. And the last one, this is the one you're probably going to be using most. This is apps. So when you click on it, this is why you need to have your course associated with your school's domain. So we're all going to have we're all going to have the apps that you see here. Everyone's going to have Adobe Spark. Everyone's going to have Canvas Studio. Everyone's going to have the Commons, Google, Khan Academy, Microsoft Office 365, and Teams. Soft chalk, just ignore it. We don't have an account for it. We have it here listed, but we don't have an account for soft chalk as a district. And then YouTube. So any of these apps, you can embed that material into your page. Again, if your school has apps like Flipgrid, Nearpod, Edpuzzle, there's a whole lot more apps, but if your school's added those, you'll see those on the list if your course is in your school's domain. Last two things for the content editor are in the bottom right corner. The first one is accessibility checker. After you've typed and put everything on the page, you want to check your accessibility. Okay, and it's going to tell you any issues. So this says tables should include a caption, and it's going to help you guide you through making sure your page is accessible. So you do the accessibility checker. The other thing is if you're going to embed any content, and we'll be talking about embedding a lot on Thursday, you're going to click this button here to go to the HTML side. And what you'll see is all the code that makes up the web page. And you'll paste those things that you're going to embed on this side, and then click again to go back to the front, and you'll see that item. So again, we'll show you all the embedded stuff on Thursday. But once you make your page and fill in that rich content editor and check it, then you're going to save it and publish it to your course. What questions do we have, Dan? I'm sure there's quite a few. I know there's a lot in this little part.
Yeah, the big thing that I'll just say before we get too far down the questions is that to everybody, we know this is fast. It has to be, or we would be here for 8 hours. It's why we're recording it. There isn't really a good way to fix that. We've been doing this for what feels like most of the summer. So we know it's fast. That's why we have the Q&A afterwards. So we want you to hang around. If I'm not getting to your questions, or Janelle or Billy or anybody else or Biz that's in the chat, it's just because there's a lot. The rich content editor, Katie, brought up a ton of questions. I think you kind of got around to most of them. There were some questions about accessibility stuff. Right now, there's some questions about approved apps and whether or not just because they're in Canvas, are they also approved in the county, if you want to talk about that a little bit. And then moving stuff around the page, how easy is that? There are a few people that have asked about that.
Okay, so apps, if you're going to find them here, if your ITC has installed it, then it's going to have been approved. Okay. If there are apps that there is in the intranet, and we can link this in the classroom, the approved software list for the district, that should always be your go-to to check on if something is approved or not. If it's not on that list and it requires a student making an account, you shouldn't be using it. The other thing is, how easy is it to move things around? Yeah, so I want to move this below the table. I'm going to click it and copy it. Paste it there. Things move pretty easily. I'm going to grab this. I want it to go down here. Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. Let me just put it there. There we go. It's just copying and pasting it to move things around. So that happens pretty quickly. Was there something else I missed, Dan?
No, there was also some talk about the sadness over tables being used as choice boards and things like that. I think all of us, me included, are unintentionally guilty of using tables in ways that we shouldn't have in the past. What we've learned is that it just does not work for anybody who's using any sort of accessibility tool to help them access your website.
Yeah, so I have this accessibility wakelet in the Canvas course, and I really want to point you towards these two videos of these two gentlemen sharing, they're both blind, sharing how they use a screen reader and what a screen reader does for them. And I think if you watch that, you'll really understand the importance of making everything accessible. We may think that we know our students and their needs, but we also now really have to remember their guardians. And we have no idea necessarily if their guardian has low vision or is using a screen reader. So it's really, important that we keep these things in mind. It's also the law. So, yeah, I know it's a bit of a buzzkill. We really want our pages to look cute and nice, but we have to put the accessibility above the appearance. All right.
So just
Yeah.
one other thing real quick, Sharon and Billy both bringing up other choices, options for choice boards, Wakelet, Padlet. There are other ways to kind of get
Yeah.
that same look and feel of here's a bunch of things, touch the thing you want to go to or click the thing you want to go to. So there are options. There are ways to do this that are accessible, that are legal, that aren't going to get you in trouble. But tables aren't the way we want to go.
Yeah, in case people aren't familiar with a Padlet, I'll show you what one is embedded on a page. Let me go down. This is not currently published in your course. This is something we'll be putting out on Thursday. But Padlet is something that you can easily embed into your course. And a choice board, it would be a great choice board for your students, because you would just make the Padlet beforehand, and add all the things onto the Padlet, and then you can embed it on your page like this, and it could be really nice. So this is directions that we're going to provide you later of how to do that embedding, but this is what it would look like. Let's see. So here's the Padlet on this page. And so you would just add all of your options onto this Padlet, and then students could click on them and go. So here's all the stuff added. You can add videos, you can add audio. So there's all types of ways. And then this can be also interactive then. So definitely, even though you can't use tables to do formatting for choice boards, there's definitely, like you said, some ways around it. All right. One more thing that I wanted to show you in this first part is connecting your Office 365. So in one of your classes in your sandbox, or even in this class, you could do this. And once you connect it once, you're connected for forever. You'll click on Office 365 and you'll say login. And you'll log into your Office 365 account. And then now my account is connected. And then when I'm in that rich content editor, if I click that apps button and I go to Office, I can then add my OneDrive files to my pages. So like I said, you probably don't want to upload all of your stuff to the files area. You just want to probably pull in files from your OneDrive. If you're a Google school, you can also connect your Google account. So you'll see a link in every class that says Google Drive. And you'll get to the page. You'll click at the bottom, it will say authorize. I'm going to authorize one of my 500 Google accounts. Now again, we don't want you doing this Google thing with your personal Gmail. Okay, you want to do it with a school Gmail. So again, this is where you're going to go back to your ITC and hey, can we just get Google for the teachers? We don't need it for students, but can we just be a Google school for the teachers? That way we can add in Google files. Because there is some really nice things that you can do with Google files that you can't do with Office files. So that's how you would connect those two things. And then again, in my pages and stuff, I can add content from those areas. All right. Are you got any questions, Dan?
No, just a lot of people that are wishing they had more than one monitor. I would say my suggestion is, as like old school, not techie as this is that I would think it would be really hard to work in your sandbox while watching Katie work on, within Canvas at the same time. It might be worthwhile to just kind of watch and take notes of things you want to try, and then use the YouTube video that we'll post later to go back and try that. There is some frustration about, not seeing everything at once, and I get that. There's sadly, I don't have a good fix for that.
Mr. Billy Watts will recommend the AOC $99 USB monitor for you to purchase so that you can plug it into
100%.
and extend your monitor. He has us all hooked on them. All right, then I'm going to move to announcements. So I talked about already and showed you in course settings how to add announcements to the top of your page. So this is our course. So you'll see that I think we have it set for 5 announcements. 5 announcements will load up here at the top of the page. To make an announcement, you're just going to click on this announcements tab and you'll click plus announcement and make a new announcement. Announcements will be located at the top of your page, and they also will push to your students' app if they have their notifications on. So this is one place you definitely want to train your students to have their notifications on. So here you can see that we have the most recent announcements at the top. You'll also see here it says 04. So I turned commenting on for my announcements. If someone had left a comment that I have not seen, it would have a number here. So that notifies me that, hey, someone left a comment I haven't looked at yet. So this tells me that I've read all of the replies that are currently there. So as for you as a teacher, when you go there, it's nice. It's a nice little, oh, I have some comments, maybe a question from a student that I should look at here. Also, you would get those notifications of those comments if you have that turned on in your notifications. Currently, okay, we have modules set as our home page. So that means that when the student comes into the course and they land on the home page, they're going to see these announcements, and on the rest of the page is modules. But you have choices. That doesn't have to be the appearance you choose. On the right side, you can say choose home page. And you can either have a course activity stream, you can make a pretty front page, and I'll show you that in a second. We have course modules. You can also have a list of assignments, and you can have your syllabus. I think the syllabus is probably the least useful of the options, but again, this is completely up to you. I'm gonna go and show you the pretty front page that I made. So I'm gonna go to modules. And I made a front page for you. If I want to set this as my front page, I have to click these 3 dots here at the end. It's still loading. Okay. So it's always when you're presenting that the internet decides to be super slow. All right, so I'm going to click the 3 dots at the end, and you'll see, oh, actually need to open the page and click these 3 dots and select use as front page. Once I have that set as my front page, okay, I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to go to, the button's not there yet. Don't get too click happy. Choose home page. All right, and I'm going to make it my home page, my front page that I just created. Oh. I got click happy and it clicked too early before it loaded. All right. Dan, do we have any questions while I'm waiting to load this?
No, we're just talking about adding students to courses. We're still answering some questions about buttons and what those are. If you want to talk a little bit about buttons or formatting of buttons when we do create them.
Yep, perfect. So a button might be like a little graphic that you create to put on your front page to kind of direct your students to where you want them to go. All right, let's see if it lets me choose my front home page now. All right, I'm going to choose my front page, and you'll see that on this page I have 2 buttons that I created because I want to keep it simple. I don't want to have like 10 buttons to that, like if I have 10 buttons, I might as well just have them use the links over here. But if I really want to direct their attention, okay? I have two buttons. I have modules and I have Zoom. Those are like me as the teacher saying these are the most important things on my page. I made these buttons in Canva, okay? So C-A-N-V-A, not Canvas, C-A-N-V-A-S. Okay, so Canva is a graphic design tool where you can design nice images. That's where I made these. I actually used some icons from a place called Noun Project and kind of made them together. So this is now my front page. When you guys go back later and refresh, you'll see this page now as the front page of the course. And I, as the teacher, I can either click to go to modules, and then it will take my students to modules, or if they want to go to Zoom, it will take them to the Zoom page. So I'm kind of guiding my students to these are the most important things on the front page. Got any questions about that?
No, I think we're just trucking along right now.
All right, good. All right, the last thing we're going to cover today is modules. And this is like probably the most important thing we'll cover all day. So a module is what you should think of as your units or your standards, or you can even group modules by week and time if you want. That might be helpful in the remote setting for your students. So we have built some modules here, okay? So you can see that our modules contain text headers to kind of separate different topics. If you see the little discussion bubbles, that tells you that there's a discussion there. If you see the little piece of paper with a pencil, that's an assignment. Just the piece of paper is a page. So that would be just where you put resources or information for students. There's no student interaction on those. This is a link. So a student was to click here, they would go to this website. And then, yeah, those are all the things. If we had a quiz, there'd be a little rocket ship. There we go. There's a quiz. So there's a rocket ship quiz. So those little icons help direct your students as to what that type of information is. You can see we also have added some little emojis using like an emoji keyboard to kind of also just enhance and guide students visually on this page. So you probably want to think about how you want to lay out your module before you start doing it, and kind of think about how you would teach things in class. What would be your introduction activity? How would you be delivering the content? And then what are the supporting formative activities that a student's going to do after that? And kind of put those things in the order that you would do them. If I was to make a new module, I would click the plus module button here, and I would then give my module a title. I can even lock that module until a certain date. So if I'm setting things up ahead of time, I don't want students to access it. I kind of want them to be able to see it, like that it's coming ahead, but I don't want them to do anything. I can make a time where that will open up and release to everyone. I can also add a prerequisite. So what do they have to do? What other module do they have to do before they can start working on this? So again, this really helps you to allow students that are like those high flyers to kind of go at their own pace, and then even zoom ahead because you have things like set up so they can pace their own learning out. Okay, so once I make my module, I can click on the plus sign in the top right corner to add content to it. So I can either make my assignments ahead of time before adding them to the module, or I can just start adding an assignment right from here. So if I add an assignment right from here, I'm going to click new assignment. Or if I add an assignment I've already made, I'll see all of my assignments that I've previously made listed below. So I can add an assignment to a module. That would be something a student does and submits. I can add a quiz, and that would be made like a Canvas specific quiz. I can add a file. I can add a page, and again, that's information. So think of that as like your content or your notes. I can add a discussion board. I can add a text header, and that's like those divisions within the module to help separate. Those are just guiding text for the student to see. I can add an external URL, and that is going to be just like having them go to a website, but it will stay on the actual page. They don't actually leave Canvas. The whole website can be embedded into Canvas itself. And then external tool. And again, this is where your subdomain comes into play, because if your schools purchase stuff, this is where you're going to see those tools. So if I choose external tool, okay, I'll see the whole list of all the external tools I have available to create within my module. So those are all the things that I can add to a module. Once I have all my stuff added, like I have my module set up here, then I can click the 3 dots in the top corner and I can say edit. And this is where I can add requirements. So I'm going to add a prerequisite of having to do the module before, and then I'm going to add requirements. So I want students to complete all of these requirements, and I want them to do it in a certain order. So I just keep adding requirements. Okay, so I want to make sure they do these 4 things. And I'm going to say they have to do this discussion and they have to contribute to the page. I want them to do this homework and I want them to mark it as done. I want them to look at this page and I just want them to view it. And this next one, help and resources, I want them to contribute to the page. So you can set these things and you put them in the order you want students to do. You can make sure they move through it in that order, or you can just let them free for all. And then once you're done, you'll press update module. And this now has made it so that students would move through the module at their own pace. You will see this box, and this is a warning because I did this and I messed things up. If you change the requirements, you want to just say continue. If you select relock, some student that's already gone further might be bounced back and have to do things again. So you want to make sure to press continue, or you might like relock things and a student has to start from the beginning. So that's making modules, adding prerequisites, and adding requirements. Questions, Dan? What do we got?
Yeah, I want to talk about something real quick because there's this and this has been a few times in the chat and I meant to mention it earlier. So sort of like a confusion is for what's the difference between pages and modules and things like that. And I read an analogy that somebody gave earlier in the chat and I've already forgot it. The way I kind of think of it, guys, is this: is a module is the way, if you think of like a textbook that we've all used a million times and you open it up to like the new chapter, and the beginning is like a cool little image and a graphic and all this stuff and a did you know and these little prompty questions, and then it works through like the guided notes where there's questions, and then it gets into the actual exercises. That's what a module is. So a page is information, and then we set up these modules so that there's different sections so that the kids have an order to move in. Not having the module there and just living in pages, for example, is possible, yes. But what happens is if you leave pages as an option over on the left side, the student can access all the pages for the course and then go into any order they want. While that might work in some classes or club, like if you're doing this for a club, if I'm teaching, earth science, I don't know that I want my student accessing day 3 of chapter 4 before we've done day 2 of chapter 3. And so if I don't have it set up within a module, if I'm just letting them kind of free for all the pages, that's what can happen. So the modules help us give the kids an order and give us some sanity as far as where they are and what order they're moving in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really personalizing the learning and letting students move at their own pace. Biz has a great video that we can share also about adding mastery paths, and that can take your modules even further. That means that if you set a quiz up as the first thing, based on the grade on that quiz, it can put kids on 3 different paths. And some students could do certain assignments and some could do other assignments based on that initial quiz. So mastery paths, if added to modules, can be really, really powerful to make, especially remote learning, when you're going to really want to make as many things asynchronous students to do when they're not in a Zoom with you as possible and moving at their own pace. That way, when you're in that Zoom time, people are coming to you for help and extension. Anything to add to that, Dan?
No, just yeah, no.
Okay.
we're just working through all the questions, but no, I think we're good.
All right. And the last thing on our little list today is conferences. And you can see that we have conferences hidden. Okay, conferences is the built-in Zoom for Canvas. However, only 10 conferences can happen at any one time within the district. So it is not a viable tool for us to use. So what you want to do is you want to hide it in your navigation. Okay, that's why you can't see it. I can see it as the teacher. We're not going to use conferences. We're going to use Zoom. And you're going to find Zoom in your course navigation. And you're going to want to bring it up to the top like we have. So when you first get in your course, Zoom is going to be hidden. You want to unhide it from the student view so that that's where students can access your meetings at. So again, the course navigation, Zoom will be down here at first. You want to drag it up and save, and you want to make sure you hide conferences. We won't be using conferences. So that's the short of that. But if you have any questions about Zoom, that's definitely something we can talk about later in Q&A or office hours this week. Office hours this week are at 4 on Thursday or 3 on Thursday. We have moved it from Wednesday because we have a conflict. So that is the meat of today. I think Dan is now going to share the form in the chat.
Yeah, Billy already put it in there, but I will add it again. I'll put it again in case anybody didn't see it. Because
don't miss the Google form. You need to fill that out. That will be turned off at 1 p.m. today. So after 1 p.m., you won't be able to submit attendance. So please make sure you get a certificate about 1 to 2 minutes after you submit that form. It will come to your email, letting you know that you attended today. And just for backup for you, that certificate's more just for like a cute option. And for those that are currently not PWCS employees, we can't log your attendance yet. So that's something good for you to hold on to. We'll log your attendance in August when you get onboarded, but we can't put your attendance into the professional learning catalog yet. All right.
There were some questions that I'll address too. A couple times this came up. I think people have heard that the county at the central office level is working on modules and Canvas content for as many people as they can. I don't know if it's everybody, so I don't want to say that. And so people are wondering, like, are we going to be required to use that? Will we need to add to that? My understanding from the departments that I'm working with is that they're trying to provide teachers a starting point, kind of like for those of us that are old and have been here a while, like the scope and sequence things that you used to get and all that, that you got in a binder on the, during your work week. And so they're going to kind of give you a backbone, but they fully expect, and I think hope, that teachers take that backbone and then put their own twist on it and put their own activities in it and make it their own. And you use what you like and you modify what you kind of like and you create what you don't like that they provide you. So I think it's a good idea for teachers to have stuff that, like, the county might provide me this, but I'm really going to like, I like my own thing, so I want to do this.
Yeah, I'm working with the science department, and so not your modules are going to be, some of them are going to be a little bit of suggestions, like this is an activity that you should do. But if it's a Kahoot quiz, they can't put that quiz in, but they're going to link it for you so that you can then put it in, because you want to give it to your students. They can't put it in and then, the whole district's taking the same Kahoot quiz. That would be a little bit maddening. So they're going to be making options for you to then implement, and you can add to them and enrich your class. So it's a great base that you'll be able to start from. Did everyone get the Google form?
Could we create a checklist of basic things we should do at the beginning of setting up a course and things to check for while creating it? If you go through the Camp Live module that we've created here, that's what we've kind of tried to do and model it. If you go through step by step, you'll see like each part of what we're doing.
And let's see. And I actually put an infographic out in the Facebook group the other day of 8 steps to make your classroom. So let me bring that up.
While you're doing that, Benny, the poll, if you're the host of the meeting, polling is an option that you have, so you can create those polls and put that out. Unfortunately, you guys aren't hosts, so you don't have that option, but if you're a host, you do.
So we thank you for, we're going to move into the Q&A part now, so that's the optional part. So hopefully you've logged your attendance. What was I going to say? We're going to be here for about 45 minutes before we have to jump into the 11 o'clock session to do that. But thanks for coming, and we'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow, Biz and Brian are going to be the hosts. So if you want to raise your hand, or let's see, how's the best way to do this? Do you think just typing in the chat for questions?
At 185 people.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to just put stuff in the chat, and we'll try to just get to them as they come. And then if we see something where we want somebody to kind of expand on their question, I will say, I know there's a lot of links out there we've posted now for Facebook and YouTube. All of our links, everybody, if you just go to itcsforall.com, all of the links are there.
All right, so in this like 8-step thing, this is what we said. Create your modules first. Your content is the most important, right? So you create the module, that's the heading. Add your resources, that's your notes, your websites, your videos that you're providing students to support their learning. Then add your formative assessments. So Flipgrids, Nearpods, quizzes, all those types of things. Then add your summative assessments. So that is what you're going to be really, some of people are going to really have to start to rethink that, because tests are not going to be have integrity to them if students can do them with each other online. So you really got to start thinking about doing more authentic student choice, student voice types of assessments. And Dan, you have some stuff to say about that probably?
Sorry, I was reading the chat, so
Sorry.
I wasn't listening.
Sorry, no, like moving towards authentic non-test assessments.
I think this will be a big challenge for everybody, is that we just have to assume, especially in a virtual environment, that every assessment is open note, open book, open Siri, open parent, open friend. So working really hard to create assessment opportunities that are project-based or demonstration-based or creation-based, I think is going to be how people need to move.
So tools that all Prince William County has available for that is Office 365, Adobe Spark. Flipgrid could even be used for a summative assessment. Students can create a video and post it there. Having students make something, a podcast, a video, a graphic, creating something physical and taking a picture of it to submit it to you. All of those things are what we want summative assessments to be. The next thing is create a front page. So I showed you like a very simple front page, really just to direct students of where they should be going, and hiding as many of those links in the navigation as possible. Also, especially for people with littles, create a parent space. So either a module for parents or a page for parents, something where you're probably making a video talking to parents, explaining to them how your course should be working and how they can help facilitate their students learning from home. So if there's an app that you're going to be using, get on a video and show them that app so parents really understand and the anxiety for them is decreased. And then lastly, yeah.
Sorry, people would really like this graphic. Is it in the course?
It can be. I will put it there. Yeah, sure. Customize the course navigation. So again, keep those links to as few as possible. And then lastly, after whatever you create, check accessibility. So those are our 8 simple steps to getting your course going. Anything else is like extra. So those Bitmoji classrooms, extra. This should be where you start. What else we got in the chat for questions?
Oh, so much.
Oh, so much.
We had somebody asked, I think, again, about differentiating between modules and pages. And really, I remember now the analogy that somebody gave earlier, that a module is kind of like if you think of a 3-ring binder with dividers where each section is something, and a page is really just content. Content with maybe pictures or links or information. Think of a page as literally just the notes filled in. Whereas a module, you can have the notes in there, and then you can also have an activity, and then you can have a video, and then you can have a quiz, and you can have all the different parts.
Yeah, so like in this module, this first one, we gave you the resources, and that's in the first thing, the Wakelet. Then the next one was something for you to do, and that we know that because of the little pencil. So see something, do something, and then create something would be a great like model or way to set up your module. See something, do something, create something.
You can, sorry, this is coming up again. I'm just trying to answer things out loud. You can use, you can create the pages first and then put them in the module, or you can create the module and add the pages to it. So it kind of lets you work in whichever order you want. Taryn, the way to see what kids have done or where they are at, my favorite thing is that if you're building a module, it's really important what Katie showed earlier, I think, to at the end of each activity, even if it's just something that they're reading, to select mark it as done. That way you can see that the student has done this and at least marked it that they've finished it. It puts some onus on them to actually do something. So even if it's just like an announcement or, you know, your top or your unit outline that you want them to see, I think every single thing, in my opinion, every single thing in a module should be they should have to do something at the end. Mark it as done, contribute to it, something, so you can see where they are.
I think this is also a great place for me to plug next Make It Work Monday. So every Monday at 10 a.m. I have Make It Work Monday. And this next week, I'm going to be showing you how to add badging to your module. So that means like when a student finishes a module, completes that module or that standard, they receive a badge. So it's a way to gamify your Canvas classroom.
Does anybody know, I have a question somebody's asking me, what if I have all these modules set up and say like we're in November and I'm on unit 4 and a student gets added to my class and modules 1, 2, and 3 were all prerequisites for module 4. Can you skip a student ahead, or do you have to remove the prerequisites to get that student there and then add them back?
Yep.
I'm seeing, okay.
Yep, you have to, yes, you can't do by student. It's all.
There are some cool things, guys, that you can do with like quizzes where you can extend time specifically for a student, or you can give, second chances and things like that. But within a module, yeah, I was trying to think, I don't know how, I don't think you can take off prerequisites or requirements for specific students.
No, unfortunately not. Biz will be showing, and Biz and Brian tomorrow will be showing all about the quizzes and the features within quizzes. Yeah, you can even do retakes on quizzes. Yes, you can set that up as well.
Anything that you've created, guys, in your sandbox is copyable to the hub loaded courses that are coming eventually. So don't worry about like, oh, I created this here and I'm going to need it there. Moving from one thing to the other is very simple. So you won't have to worry about that. That's why you live in your sandbox now.
Yeah, let me show you. I can even show you. So if I go to my pages, and I'm going to go view all pages. If I want to copy a page to another course, very simple.
Linda, we're never going to get rid of this stuff. It'll always be on YouTube.
Yep.
We are going to live on the internet in perpetuity.
All right. So on from my pages page, you can either do this from pages, assignments. You cannot do it from the module itself. So you have to go to the pages page or the assignments page. You can click the 3 dots and you want to copy it to another class. You say copy to, and then this side window will open where you can begin typing the name of your course. All right, I'm going to send it to this one. I can either pick which module I want it to be a part of, and I can say where in the module I want it to go, before, at the very top, at the very bottom. So I want it to go before, and then all the things I can see in that module. And then I just say copy, and it will quickly get copied to that other course in the place that I want it to be. So again, that was clicking the 3 dots and saying copy to, and then you'll select where you want it to go. You also see an option that says send to. So I can send to, and then I can type the name of a colleague in, and I can send it to them. When I send it to them, okay, if I send it to them, if I'm receiving it, I'm going to find that in my account shared content. That's where I'll find something that someone sent to me. So if you send something to a colleague or someone sends something to you through Canvas, you're going to find it in account shared content. What you'll see when you go there, I don't know if I have any right now. Let's see. Nope,
Well,
no
that,
share
oh,
contact. But
sorry.
if I had it, I would be able to, there'll be a button where I could then put it into one of my classes.
Guys, if it doesn't say your specific school, you need to just let your ITC know and they can move it over to your school. And then somebody else had asked about where they find Make It Work Monday. Post all those on Facebook, and we
Yeah,
also,
Facebook group.
if you're not on Facebook, that's fine. Any video we make is on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And links to both of those are at itcsforall.com. What else?
What else?
We're wearing them down. Thanks. That solves all my issues. I'm screenshotting that and tweeting it. We have solved everything.
All the issues. What is the e-portfolio? Yeah, so e-portfolio is students can make a portfolio of their work. So I think Billy and Emily are going to talk about that on Friday and go more into depth. But students create portfolios. They can make them public or they can just share them with a teacher. They'll tell you all about that on Friday.
I would say to anybody that's in here that isn't in the Facebook group, not that I'm doing commercials for Facebook, but one of my favorite parts about it right now is that the group is so big that if you have a question, a lot of times a teacher, not one of us, has already figured it out, or they've worked with one of us and got it, or they did it on their own or whatever. And so, you know, all these questions that people have are getting answered in the Facebook group. It's been pretty awesome. Monique, the digital journal, there's a couple ways to do that. I don't know what grade you teach, but my suggestion for interactive notebooks or journals or things like that, if you're a Google school, having students create a Google site on like the very first day, and then they throughout the whole year they build a working website that is your class. That's one of my favorite things for kids to do. If you guys want to talk separately with me about it, I would be happy to share. If you're not a Google school, Weebly for Education is free and it's a website builder. I think then we're also doing, oh man, I hear myself. I think that students get the opportunity to not only create like a journal, a notebook, you know, at the end of the year, they can say, look what I made, look what I did, but we're also teaching a skill of how to build a web page and how to create content. And they're going to learn things that we might not even know how to do.
And I mean, if it's just a journal, you can also just go simple and make a Word document. Like sometimes things don't have to always be elaborate, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep, a blog could be great.
EduBlogs is a good site. You can create blog sites on Weebly. You can just make your Google site a blog. You can make a Word doc a blog.
Yep. I don't know, Naomi, what, of the interactive notebook? Oh, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, Google Sites, Weebly for education, EduBlogs. It sort of just depends on what you want to do. I know that our culinary class last year, they did a class blog where every student had a blog and they just literally blogged things they ate and made. Sounds awesome.
Where do you suggest we put stuff like our schedule, office hours? That would be on your, in your class, it would be on the syllabus page. That's where that stuff would go. Yes, we are very fast at accepting.
All the tabs. Biz. I don't know if off the top of my head, for Liz Selby, do we have a video showing people how to copy content? I think I made one at one point. How to copy content from one module over to another. I feel like I've made that before.
I feel like we have it on a video somewhere.
Yeah, Liz Selby, I'll find it and send it to you.
Yeah. Yep, the attendance form was in the chat. Can you put it there again?
Yep.
Yep. So for those of you who are still here and you see my page, you'll see my to-do list. This is like telling me all the things as a teacher that I have to grade. So that's really nice to be able to find that work that I have to grade. I'll also see anything coming up for any classes that I'm a student in. And I can quickly, you guys don't have the new course button because I apparently have God powers, but you used to have that button, but it's gone now because you just have one sandbox. but you can then also view grades there. So this little to-do area for students will be assignments they have to do. And so that is really where we want to point them to when you're starting to like train your kids to, you know, navigate Canvas at the beginning of the year. Telling them to look at the to-do area is going to be helpful. All right. Everyone's filled out the Google form for the attendance. Let's see. I think we got everything. I think we covered it all.
Question coming in now. Monique has a question.
Yeah, you can't. I would just recommend, like on my page here, I just centered them. And that's all that I could do for the formatting. It's just putting them in the center side by side. And so that's kind of why I recommend less than, you know, you don't need 12 buttons if, you know, if it's not something a student has to go to every day, doesn't need to be a button. No. So I want to focus my students in and just have two options. Like this is the two things you're probably going to need to go to.
Yeah, and I think using the redirect tool for, you know, frequently used things on the navigation also is helpful for students. I put this earlier in the chat, but we have to remember that we're going to have kids, you know, I have a, let's see, a rising first grader and a rising third grader that'll both be using their Kindles. My rising eighth grader will be on a Chromebook, you know, or her iPhone. Like we have all these different things. So we just have to be careful about, you know, the minute we start formatting so much, we're formatting it on a computer because we're all old. And so we use computers, but our kids don't. And if you're a high school teacher, I've said this already, like they're buying computers for every high school student. So, you know, it's a $300 computer or their $1,100 iPhone. Which one do you think that they're going to use? So I just think we have to be careful about too much formatting on the page and kind of let Canvas let it look like what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
William Watts.
I guess we'll let him in.
Yeah, Biz answered this question, but Teams versus Zoom. I think that the county, because they paid for us to have the big fancy Zoom, are going to want us to use Zoom.
Yeah.
It does more. It's fancier. You know,
Tammy,
it's
yes.
a 1-year lease. Use it while you can. Use it while you can.
Yes, Tammy, we do have directions for students.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that link in the chat. We've made a Canva, or not a Canva. We made a Wakelet for it.
We love Wakelet.
We love a Wakelet.
Sorry,
we love Wakelet because it does have immersive reader built in. So it's very friendly for mobile and for students that need some reading enhancement. Yeah. Hopefully if you walk away with anything today, you realize that immersive reader is not a screen reader, but a reading enhancement tool.
Pamela, they're buying computers for every high school student. I think they've already purchased them. We're about half of them are in, and we're waiting for the other half, at least at my school.
Canva is not something you have to purchase on your own. There's actually an EDU account. I'll put a link for that in the website, in the chat. If you just like make a picture of your teacher ID, they will give you a free premium teacher account.
Ooh, a way to lock the chat window? God, I wish there was. The scrolling of the chat window is overwhelming today. I don't think there is, Susan. Somebody else asked earlier if we could hide the chat window because the pop-up's on the bottom. I don't think there's a way to do that either. Well, I'll rephrase. I could not figure out a way to do it. So if any of you can figure out a way.
Here's the Canva for Education link. So you click on that link and you'll click where it says register now for free, and you'll submit some stuff to get your free teacher account.
Fun
really
for
great.
fun for buttons, fun for graphics, fun for calendars, fun for posters, banners, all sorts of.
And also with the education account, you can create a team. So you and your colleagues, your grade 4 team can all have a team where you make graphics together and like kind of have a unified brand for your grade level. That could be really cool. Billy loves that. He's smiling. It's like branding.
Yes, Veronica, you can disable chat for students, but in this environment, you guys were all the students. So if we disabled the chat, people
It'd
would
be a
revolt.
mutiny.
People would revolt. So once you enable the chat, I don't think there's a way to A, slow it down, B, stop it from popping up, or C, lock it so that it doesn't auto scroll. I have not seen any features for that.
Yeah, I can just turn it off. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I've seen teachers that have turned off the chat while they want everybody to focus and then turned back on the chat when it was time for questions.
If we did that during this, I would leave the session, and because I would not be able to type fast enough.
Any other questions? All right, well then I guess I'm going to stop the recording.
Oh, look at you, Biz. Aren't you fancy?